Hi there, it's Stuart here again with another thought for today, and it's the final section of the Lord's Prayer that we're going to be looking at, which says, "Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil." And like we thought about last time, we don't just do sins, we are sinful. Yet, sin isn't just something we are culpable of, it is also something we are victims of. And it's important to say that this is never an excuse for us. We are always guilty of our sin before God. But it is nevertheless true, and Jesus knows this. Some translations of the Bible, I'm sure you know, even say, "Deliver us from the evil one." And it's important for us to be aware that we have an enemy, the devil. He's also referred to as the tempter in Matthew chapter 4. And our battle, you see, is not just against flesh and blood, as Paul goes on to say in Ephesians chapter 6. It's also against the powers of this dark world, as he calls it. And Jesus is urging us in this model for prayer we call the Lord's Prayer, to seek God's help in this regard, something we perhaps don't do enough. Of course we need forgiveness for our own sin, but we also need protection from the outside forces of evil who would seek to deceive, if possible, even the elect, as Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24. Now we can take heart that this is the last thing on the list that we need to be worrying about. It certainly doesn't need to be our primary focus of concern. Nevertheless, if you are like me, I bet you rarely, if ever, pray, "Deliver me from evil." By God's grace, we might still be doing well in our Christian faith. We might still be doing well in our walk with the Lord. But perhaps, if this was a more frequent focus of our prayer lives, we might have been spared some pangs along the way. In this book, What Every Child Should Know About Prayer, that I've been reading with the children, it says, Jesus teaches us to ask God for the power to say no when we are tempted to do what's wrong. The tempter can wield a mighty power over us, but with God's help we can resist. I think that's a great way to sum up the end point of this last bit of the prayer. And I'd just like to end by saying once again that the design of this prayer as a whole, this Lord's Prayer, is seeking to cultivate a relationship with God, between us and God. Throughout the Lord's Prayer, Jesus has been asking to show us just how much of a loving Father he is to us. He loves to provide for our needs, and he loves to forgive us our sins, and he loves to save us from our enemies. And I hope your hearts have been filled with much affection, much confidence, and much peace as we studied this prayer together, and I hope you will continue to think through these magnificent verses and enjoy your prayer life and your walk with the Lord. Grace and peace to you.